You probably know about the famous atomic bombs that hit Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There are many movies and documentaries about the effects it had, but have you ever wondered how they managed to create this weapon? Such a gigantic project with so much destructive power. How did the idea come about? How many scientists were involved? The Manhattan Project was the name given to a critical research effort to develop an atomic bomb at the beginning of World War II. Want to know more about this project? Stay tuned and watch, but immediately after we play our opening theme, which seems to be stuck in the laboratory due to testing. So my old sports, this is EdDevelop, where you will find the best scientific and similar curiosities. Subscribe and activate the notification bell to enrich your day every time we upload a new video, and consider our Patreon. Find the link below in the description. Now, it is time for the fun parts. In the 1940s, a project was completed that gave mankind nothing less than the power of global destruction. We usually think of mega projects as an improvement to the world, a step forward, a boost to the human species. This time, however, it may be different. Want to know why? Your opinion of the Manhattan Project will depend on many factors. Some see it as an achievement, others as a sad moment in human history. In any case, and while we are far from glorifying the destructive power it ultimately unleashed, the Manhattan Project remains one of the most critical feats mankind has ever accomplished. Early experiments. In 1938, two German chemists, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, made a discovery that would change the course of history: nuclear fission, a reactive nuclear process that consists of splitting atoms to produce large amounts of energy. It showed that the atomic bomb was theoretically possible, aside from the apparent dangers of creating something so destructive. The pioneer was Albert Einstein. Scientists of great renown in the world community participated in this project, such as physicists Enrico Fermi, Leo Szilard, and Robert Oppenheimer, considered the father of the atomic bomb because he was the director of the project, as well as Hungarian mathematician John von Neumann. Canada and the United Kingdom also developed the project in several research centers. Years later, the Manhattan Project had more than 130,000 scientists behind it. The most prominent scientist in the creation of the atomic bombs was the American Robert Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist by profession, was the Manhattan Project director. He developed the first nuclear bomb in history, which was detonated in a controlled explosion in the New Mexico desert on July 16, 1945, 1 month before the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hey, wait! Now's the time! Subscribe to the channel to be entertained while learning. It's free! The Trinity test was the first nuclear weapon test by the United States. Let's understand a little about the scientific process of making an atomic bomb. How does a nuclear bomb work? Atomic bombs are governed by the principles of nuclear reaction, the laws of physics that govern the behavior of atomic nuclei. Their purpose is to set off a chain reaction that affects all the atoms in the fuel material, releasing an enormous amount of energy in a few seconds as one bit is transformed into another. This can happen in two ways. Nuclear fission. Simply put, this breaks the atomic nucleus, especially in heavy materials with bulky and energy-rich seats. This is achieved by bombarding the nucleus with free neutrons to destabilize the nuclear composition and cause the nucleus to split, producing unstable atoms that begin a long process of decay until they become stable elements such as lead. Fusion. This is the opposite process to fission, in which two nuclei fuse to form a new, larger, heavier nucleus from two lighter elements. This process releases much more energy than fission and is the same process that occurs inside stars, which can be considered huge nuclear explosions in space. However, it is important to note that nuclear fusion has not been handled with the same capability as fission, either in bombs or atomic reactors. Therefore, fusion bombs are actually fission-fusion bombs, since they require an initial explosion to trigger fusion. In any case, atomic bombs depend on a chain reaction in which one atom reacts, releasing energy and free neutrons that can cause the neighboring atom to respond. This process is repeated over and over, faster and faster, and in greater and greater quantities. Devastating effects. Some scientists urged that the bomb not be dropped on Hiroshima. World War II was still raging in the Pacific, and US forces had selected 17 targets in Japan to drop the bomb. Leo Szilard, another scientist on the project, pushed for the Frank Report, which urged the US president not to use the bomb. The petition never worked, and on August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay bomber dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Nicknamed Little Boy and Fat Man, man, these bombs instantly killed 140,000 and 80,000 people in each city respectively, with 15 to 20% of the deaths due to radioactive poisoning, which also left hereditary genetic effects in the population. The effects of radiation following the bomb detonations in both Japanese cities were devastating for thousands of people. Radiation increases susceptibility to infection, which increases the likelihood of worsening injuries. Those who survived suffered from numerous diseases in the years that followed, including eye cataracts, malignant tumors, leukemia, cancer, and others. If such a feat were to be repeated, the consequences would be truly catastrophic because, in addition to the immense loss of life in the short term, the outbreak of a nuclear war could cause long-term damage to our planet. It could severely damage the Earth's ecosystem and reduce global temperatures, leading to food shortages worldwide. Nuclear deterrence. Do you know what nuclear deterrence is, my old sport? The strategy of nuclear deterrence aims to avoid nuclear war and make it impossible. It is based on the assumption that a limited number of nuclear weapons can inflict intolerable damage that will deter a potential aggressor. After World War II, deterrence theory gained prominence in US academia by including nuclear weapons as an extreme measure of deterrence. When the United States detonated the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 to force Japan's surrender, the destructive power of the weapons became clear. Initially, the US used this capability as part of its strategy to contain Soviet expansion, but when the USSR developed its own nuclear weapons in 1949, the strategy of deterrence prevailed for the rest of the Cold War. The quantity and quality of weapons determine the retaliatory power and, thus, the ability to defend and respond to a possible attack. This power is intimidating, for if the cost of aggression is greater than the benefit, it will serve as a deterrent. Only if nuclear weapons ensure mutual destruction will conflict be less likely. In this sense alone, the answer will be not to use them. Combating nuclear proliferation. After the devastating consequences of the Manhattan Project, the fight against nuclear proliferation has been shaped by treaties between countries. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, is a key international treaty aimed at preventing the spread of nuclear weapons and weapons technology, promoting cooperation in peaceful uses of nuclear energy, and advancing the goal of nuclear disarmament and general and complete disarmament. The NPT is the only multilateral treaty representing a binding commitment by the nuclear weapons states to the goal of disarmament. After World War II, the member states of the United Nations decided that it was necessary to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons because of the danger that they might fall into irresponsible hands. The nuclear weapons states undertook not to transfer nuclear weapons to anyone or to assist any state in the production or acquisition of nuclear weapons. The non-nuclear weapons states undertook not to receive nuclear weapons from anyone, not to produce them, and not to seek the assistance of anyone in doing so. They also undertake not to transfer source material, uranium and thorium, or special nuclear material, enriched uranium and plutonium, to any non-nuclear weapons state without subjecting these materials to safeguards. We have seen all that has been created to prevent and control another possible Manhattan Project type exploitation. War has a way of bringing out the best and the worst in people. The tragedy that befell a predominantly civilian population in Hiroshima and Nagasaki remains a trail of mass destruction and death that we should all strive never to repeat. However, we must be prepared. How can we prepare for a possible nuclear catastrophe? A nuclear attack remains highly unlikely, but experts say it cannot be ruled out. I will give you a little guide you can follow. First 30 minutes. Protect your face, especially your eyes. The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention also recommends lying on the ground with your face down and your hands tucked under your body to protect yourself from flying debris or scorching heat that could burn your skin. If you have a scarf or bandana, cover your nose and mouth. But be sure to keep your mouth open so your eardrums don't burst from the pressure. First 45 minutes. Take shelter indoors and away from windows. Exposure to radioactive fallout can cause radiation poisoning, which can damage body cells and be fatal. You have to be fast, old sport. First 24 hours. Take a shower and stay indoors until further notice. People who were outdoors during an explosion should shower as soon as possible, making sure the water is warm and the soap is gently applied. That was it for today's video. Now you know what a big impact a nuclear bomb had and could have. My old sport, don't forget to hit the like and share, and we'll see you in the next video.